Waha, we're live, folks. Hello and welcome back to another Do As We Do Live, having conversations around not if you live. No, it's if you live and you don't die. Jeez, man. I always mess that up. I'm not going to. I'm going to not think so hard about it anyways. But anyways, we thank you all very much for being here. This is our weekly Thursday Live where we know that knowledge is the best way for caregivers and their loved ones to live a better life and be better prepared for tomorrow. So I'm that Kimberly, and we have Jeff Jurstock.
Hey, everybody.
And Sam Gaines as my co-host.
Hey, everyone.
And we will bring on our guest shortly, Miss Melissa Foley. She'll share her story with us about the time she needed a caregiver and she didn't realize it. So, but before we do that, we just want to acknowledge everybody that we are on the Do As We Do Facebook page, the Do As We Do YouTube, my personal LinkedIn, and that Kimberly's YouTube. So wherever you're watching, we wanted to be there where you wanted to be. And we want your questions. If you have them, please let us know. If you have a topic you want us to do next time, we want that as well. Share it if you know a caregiver or 3 or 4. There's 40 plus million unpaid caregivers in the world right now, or in the United States, I should say, that is doing this type of work for their loved ones. And we just want to bring awareness to everyone. And while you're at those places, please turn on those notifications and subscribe so that you can be here next week, next Thursday. So did I miss anything, guys?
Comments?
Oh, yes. I said everyone to comment. Yes, yes, yes. Please comment questions, all of it. And we will be answering as we move through this process.
Well, thanks for all the housekeeping tips, Kimberly.
You're welcome.
Keep our house in order.
I try.
So for those that are joining us for the first time, we've been doing this for several weeks. And why are we here? What is a caregiver? We really define a caregiver as someone who regularly helps a family member or a friend with their daily living activities because of old age, a disability, disease, mental health. There's quite a few reasons, but our definition really is: don't think of a caregiver as your mom or dad homeschooling their grade school kids, but more of mom and dads who may also be taking care of their mom and dad for whatever reason. Each day, over 40 million unpaid caregivers do this work out of the goodness and really the kindness of their hearts. We believe both caregivers and their loved ones deserve to live confidently and happily, but there's a problem.
Yep.
They may have been thrust into this unexpectedly without training. They are likely unpaid and now taking on extra financial burden. They're maybe uncertain or insecure about the decisions that they face. They may feel alone or overwhelmed in their challenges, or not live anywhere near their loved one that they're caring for.
Like me.
So for these reasons, we launched the Do As We Do Foundation with the purpose of supporting and helping caregivers be better prepared and thrive one day at a time. What we're working towards in the future is to provide consistent education and resources on topics meaningful to caregivers, provide special assistance for caregivers in need, and provide a supportive community to empower caregivers to find the resources that they need. We also, at this time, we simultaneously, as we launched the Do As We Do Foundation, because of the current economic crisis, we launched the Caregivers Relief Fund. Caregivers are already a financially at-risk group. They're literally living paycheck to paycheck and having to make very tough decisions about where each dime goes. Often it goes to the health needs of the loved one they're caring for. So they're definitely at risk of losing housing right now. So every donation that you make to the Caregivers Relief Fund, every dime goes
100%.
100% goes towards helping keep a roof over a caregiver's head. And you can donate at DoAsWeDo.org. Again, that's DoAsWeDo.org, and every little bit helps.
Yes. And you can also go there if you know someone that is in need to fill out. We're thanks to SphereX and Approved Shields, we have a website that the application is coming along thanks to Approved Shield and SphereX. So yes, definitely go there for all those great things. So thank you, Sam. As I bring in I want to introduce our guest. Did I add her? Yes, Miss Melissa Foley. Thank you, Melissa.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning there in South Africa. So just a little bit about Melissa. In December 2018, during a routine trip home to Arizona to see her friends, because she's been off saving the turtles and the planet, piece by piece, she's a very healthy individual, and she experienced an unexpected life-threatening health emergency. And in order to successfully recover from this health crisis, which Melissa will share with us, she had no choice but to rely on one of her closest and dearest friends, and many. Took a village to take care of Foley, right? So,
We've
welcome.
been saying that for years.
Yes. But we say that with love, Melissa. You know that.
Of course.
So tell us at a real high level what happened. Tell the audience like they've never heard this, which.
Yep. So just a little background. I was in multifamily forever, which is how my connection to you guys. And about 10 years ago, I had my early eat, pray, love midlife crisis and quit my job and sold everything I own and bought a backpack and just literally started running around the world through Southeast Asia, Europe, South America, and Africa. And so I've been home a few times, but like she said, just before Christmas, about a year and a half ago, I came home, and literally within less than an hour after getting off a flight, I was with a good friend, Heidi, who is also in the multifamily and was having some chest pains. And I just was really dismissive, thinking maybe it was heartburn, or didn't think anything of it, because, a lot of us take our health for granted, don't we?
Yeah.
We just think it's, nothing serious. But because I didn't have health insurance, having not lived in the US, I was really reluctant to phone 911 and, thinking, oh, it'll pass. Like, let's just wait and see. And it didn't, and it progressively got worse, and I couldn't breathe, and it got really bad. So we called 911. We went to the emergency room, and to everyone's surprise, even the doctors, I was diagnosed with an aortic dissection, which basically means your aorta is ripped open like a zipper.
Wow.
So everything escalated very quickly. I ended up having to be emergency airlifted by helicopter to another hospital, where a surgical team of 2 cardiothoracic and vascular surgeons were waiting for me, and ended up having this epic 12-hour emergency open heart surgery. So it was pretty intense, and it was definitely, initially things weren't looking great.
No, when I heard the story, I was overwhelmed for both of you.
Yeah, it was hectic. So, fortunately, Heidi's someone who's very good to have in a crisis, and she and I are very close, and logistically and legally, she was definitely the person to have by my side, and we were both really calm. And it's just those all those cliche expressions about how your life flashes before your eyes and whatnot, as they were wheeling me up to the roof of the hospital for the helicopter, just in my mind going through, okay, here's the passwords to my Facebook and to my email, and okay, call this person in this country and call this person, and so on, and reminding her, no extreme measures, and that I was an organ donor, and all these logistical things kind of going through my head. But I was fortunate that I was conscious and able to have that conversation and remind her of those things.
Yeah, I mean, man, Melissa, I can't even imagine the emotional state. The fear, fear is a word that comes to mind as you're experiencing all that. But, to have her by your side, clearly, her work really began right there at the hospital. And, it sounds like she stepped up in a big way. Can you kind of maybe explain a little bit more about how, she really stepped into that caregiver role right then and there, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, her being there for me emotionally was obviously really calming because, like I said, she's just a very calming person in general, and, just really proactive and, supportive. And, and I knew, we're so connected and we're so close that I knew like she would know who to reach out to, and, to, kind of start with my personal, because I have a very random like social circle and, personal network and different people. And she's definitely, kind of the glue to help kind of connect all those dots and knows who all the people in my life are to reach out to. So she, talking to the doctors, and she actually is my power of attorney. When I left the States and moved abroad, I had arranged and sorted that with her. So she kind of, we've had these conversations before, but, just admitting me to the hospital and the paperwork and the insurance, you just take that stuff for granted. And they had to sedate me, and, I had to be put into a medically induced coma before the surgery. And, because she had that logistical legal paperwork, and she knew, all my health history, which, I had no issues, but she knew all that. So I was really fortunate that I actually literally was with her when everything started.
And how smart of you guys to do that ahead of time.
Yeah, definitely.
So obviously, as you're going into surgery, before you wake up from all this, you're thinking of the passwords and the who to call and all that stuff, like you said. But when you woke up, what was the process and like the emotional process and like acknowledging like, I'm going to have help. I'm going to have more than just her doing paperwork, but have help from her to be a true caregiver.
And you can just pick up and go again, right?
Yeah, well, that and actually, my biggest stress, to be honest, and emotional of this, like I did think about that at a point because, I'm so independent, and I've been traveling around the world and hopping on planes, every couple of weeks or every couple of months, for so long, like the thought of not being able to do that. But my, I was panicked about not having health insurance and not having support. And, what was that going to look like? And, was I going to be a financial burden to somebody? And so, and when I woke up, and because, I was so panicked about it before, like even when the doctor had said like, hey, we have to air evacuate you to another hospital, I literally asked him, I'm like, can I be taken by ambulance? I don't have insurance. And just knowing like what the cash cost was going to be by a helicopter versus an ambulance. Right. So Heidi, the first thing she said is, because I was on a ventilator, I had a breathing tube, and, when they were pulling me out of sedation, I was like, okay, I could hear voices, and there was a bunch of people in the room, and I recognized the voices. And okay, I was like, all right, I remember why I was there. Okay, I'm in the hospital. Okay, I remember what happened. So I remember thinking like, okay, it must be okay if I'm remembering this. And the first thing Heidi said, she's like, we got you covered for insurance. Garage is here. We've started to GoFundMe. So-and-so's here. Like, we've got you. Everything's taken care of. You don't have to worry about anything. Like, just breathe, just get better. Like, you're going to be okay. And so, like, I can't even imagine, like, that was probably, like, literally the first thing I needed to hear to just, like, keep me calm and put me in a headspace where I thought, like, okay, someone's got me.
Yeah. So what was that transition like going from the hospital to like I know how ironically Heidi told me a lot of that story, like almost 2.5-3 years ago when we were at a conference, and you were just recovering, from, how did that transition go from the hospital to her place?
Yeah, so I was in the hospital for a couple of weeks in ICU, and obviously the nurses were amazing and fantastic. It was just before Christmas, so it was, I felt bad, like, burdening everybody during the holiday season, and everyone's got stuff. I literally just pop into town and like, hey, just throwing off everybody's plans, but. But I think it was about 12 or 13 days I was in the hospital, and I was never alone once. I mean, like, Heidi and it literally was a village. Like everybody kind of organized a schedule. There was always somebody with me. People were spending the night, everyone was relieving each other. They had WhatsApp groups and like kind of communicating just to make sure that, I wouldn't be alone.
And then so it wasn't
people.
one person, right? Like, so it was Heidi the main person, but that you had a lot of other people that stepped up as well.
Yeah. Oh my God.
To help her.
Yeah. So, the list is, Heather and
Yeah.
Jill and
Yes,
it's like so many. So
y'all know who you are.
So because it was the holidays and Heidi was actually getting ready to go out of town is where, so they were coordinating with one of my girlfriends from college, my friend Rachel, who I've known since I was in my early 20s. And so, they were all kind of figuring out what to do with me because she was going out of town. And then when I was going to be released from the hospital because I had been progressing a little bit faster than they thought. And also too, the doctors weren't sure initially because the survival rate of what happened to me is so low. Like they really didn't even expect me to survive the surgery. And then when I did, they were kind of like, oh great, now what do we do with her?
Wow.
So it's my friend Rachel, who I've known her since my early 20s. They all kind of together decided that logistically it made the most sense for me to go to her house where, it's centrally located for other people to help support with meals and doctor's appointments. And then she just, space wise had it just accommodated the situation. So,
wow.
So they organized everything. Like, the first couple, I was pretty drugged up and kind of out of it.
Yeah.
And so they just all really came together and took the initiative. And so, so when I was released from the hospital, I went to my friend Rachel's house and, the girls had all kind of rallied together and made schedules for meals and, kind of what to do for me next. And so, it was great. But sometimes I think at a point it's overwhelming because then you almost get too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah. Well,
and then,
yeah. No, I know that feeling. I'm caring for my mom right now. It's you, but you have to collaborate too. So at the same time,
No, they were amazing. They were very amazing. So, so I moved into my friend Rachel's house, and she's a saint. Like she's a elementary school teacher who works with kids with behavioral problems and special needs. So she has the patience of a saint. So so it was like that for a good 2 months that, I just crash landed, into their life. And, she's got 2 small kids that I've known since the day they were born. And, I think it was tough on her too, because, every morning she'd drive to school and, the kids at school and they would say like, oh, is Foley going to die? Is she okay? Or, because they're so used to me being this like crazy hyperactive, person. And then, I'm all sedated and, the first couple of weeks home were really rough. I had some setbacks. I had to go back into the ER and,
So I have to ask this question though. So like I know it wasn't short-term disability. I can't remember what it was, but like, what did you like? Cause you're like my mind, as you're talking about all this, like I'm thinking of the dollar signs and, having no insurance. So what did you have? What did you end up with?
So as you guys know, in America, the coverage varies from state to state. So fortunately, because, I'm an Arizona resident and I, even living abroad, I pay my taxes every year in Arizona. Arizona is one of the few states that has a program for low-income women and children. And so because a lot of the work that I've been doing the last 10 years has been volunteer work and, my salary was low enough that I qualified. I was eligible to get this coverage. And it turned out to be fantastic coverage. It even covered, transportation to doctor's appointments. So I was very, very, very fortunate. And I have a couple girlfriends who are amazing nurses. And so they were really instrumental in the beginning as well. When I transitioned out of hospital at Rachel's, they came over and helped with, my medications. And I had some complications with the incisions and the wound care. And, the first couple of weeks, like I couldn't even shower myself. So the girls really, everyone really went above and beyond.
So if you would have had that short-term or even long short-term disability or even long-term care, can you imagine like if you would have had those 2 things, either one, like how much of a
Yeah.
difference.
Oh, huge difference. Huge difference.
Yeah.
And I can't even imagine like not having this the insurance that I did get, because initially the bills started coming in before the insurance kicked in, and I mean, there's easily over $1 million. I mean, I think the helicopter ride alone was like $20,000.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, it's really, and I always took it for granted. I wasn't living, I was traveling all the time, and I would do like traveler's insurance to try to be, somewhat responsible. But I was so healthy. I just, all of us, like, we take our health for granted. I never even get heartburn. And then suddenly, they realize I've had years of undetected high blood pressure, and then having these conversations with people now, like most people don't even know what their blood pressure averages, and it could happen to any of us.
It's not just your health; it's also your, like, we take our life, like we think we're going to like I'm going to switch it. Like, I'm just going to be the devil.
Yeah.
Like, because of what we're doing, like we feel like we don't have to worry about like anything. We're going to die and go away. Right. We're not going to live through this surgery, everything's going to be left to somebody. Right.
Yeah.
And no, you wouldn't, but that's not what happens. Even for people who get, who age out, it's not as easy as everybody thinks it is. Just gonna put me out to pasture, die, and I want to go away. Nope, that doesn't happen.
Yeah. And even for me, like, I knew like this, I mean, it didn't, like, I was recovering well, like it wasn't going to be a chronic thing. We were pretty optimistic I was going to be okay at a point, you know what I mean? But like, I mean, the idea, like, I mean, even now the doctors have said, like, there's no medical explanation how there's no long-term damage. And a year and a half later, I think, my God, like, I mean, if I physically couldn't walk, or if my speech or something, and like really could not have been as independent as I was so quickly, like, what would I have done? What would I, I mean, like, who someone's going to get stuck with me, which is my biggest like fear. But like, I mean, it literally could happen to anybody.
Yeah. Melissa, sharing this story, I mean, I hear all the puzzle pieces that kind of seem to just fit together. And you've touched a little bit on the financial aspect as well as maybe the fear aspect. Like, do you think those were the biggest unknowns that you had to like just deal with? Or like, tell us a little bit. I mean, it sounds like you had an army of people there to help you.
Yeah, there's no question, like, just all the support. I mean, that was happening locally, but like, because I've lived all over the world and people checking in, and and even that, like, Heidi and Rachel and Heather and like all my friends that were organizing, I mean, that was people are still working, people still have their families and their lives, and they're having to manage phone calls and emails and explanations to people, and of course they want to help, but it's the big things and the small things. And I guess I didn't really realize until after, like, when you're going through it, and also to just being so distracted and sleeping like 16 hours a day. But I remember at one point, Rachel, we were sitting in the living room and she just broke down crying, and she's like, it's so hard to see someone you love like suffer and to go through this pain. And and I was really having a tough time with my surgeon and doctor's appointments because it was Christmas and a new patient, and I was getting so frustrated, and to just see her, she'd held it together so well, but to see the toll that it took onto her, that when Kimberly and I started talking about doing this, that I was like, oh my God, like, this is exhausting. She said she would like wake up in the morning, and literally the first thing she would do, she'd walk to the other end of the house, where my little guest wing was, and she's like, every morning I would just come and check to make sure that you were alive. Like, I just didn't know what to expect. And you just think about like the emotional toll that must take on somebody. So I think the fear, the unknown for me was just like, was I going to get my independence back? And it was just as much about me being independent as it was about me just not wanting to burden anybody, because that's just not how I roll.
I obviously can't plan for everything. Even someone who's aging and knows something's coming, they can't possibly plan for everything. But looking back, do you think what could you have done to have been better prepared? The things that were possible, maybe conversations you would have had that you had never thought of having at your age.
Well, I have to say I did do that, and my trigger was, I mean, I don't have kids, and it's just me. I don't have anyone to worry about. But when I had decided to travel around the world, like obviously it got real that like I could get hit by a bus in Bangkok, or mulled over by a cow in Mumbai. I mean, anything could go.
Literally.
Literally, which I actually did in Mumbai. But anyways,
Different story, different podcast, different day.
but like, so I can't, I break a lot of people's balls about the importance of like having a power of attorney and having a will and like really being prepared, because
more than a will,
happen.
more than a will. There has to be more than a will. Like I'm just gonna cut you off, Melissa, and there has to be more than a will, because that's what I'm fighting right now with my own father. That luckily he went ahead and got some things together, but there's still things that are left out of place. And with my own experience with two separate parents living two separate, we don't want to burden you, and the things that like I wrote down that stuck with you, those are words that you said, somebody stuck with you, right? And my dad has said that before. Seeing someone that you love suffer, like that's what I want people to understand, is that that's what we're doing here. We're trying to get people educated that all those things happen to the caregiver. Like if you're not prepared and you don't have these conversations, more than your will, more than power of attorney, get that long-term care, or figure out and tell your kids, right? Like I'm anybody, Sam and Jeff and Brian, Diana, because they're volunteering, everybody that's volunteering. I constantly preach to these folks that it has to be more than just your will.
Yep. Yeah, 100%. And to be clear and to have it documented, especially because the laws are changing and because a lot of these things have become so politicized, to, be clear what your, do not resuscitate, or what your, organ donation, all of that. Like you really have to be clear, because it's just a legal nightmare to deal with it after the fact. Yeah. I will say so my college boyfriend of mine is my financial ex-college boyfriend is my financial planner. And so way back in the day, I had gotten a life insurance policy in like, my early 30s or whatever, as more of like a financial investment. And then I don't know, I was like, oh, I'll be fine. I don't need it. Like, like whatever. So at a point over these last 10 years, when I was getting a little cash strap, I ended up like cashing out of it, thinking I wouldn't need it. And it's probably the biggest regret. Like, I mean, I cannot
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing
enough to people, like, especially now, like there's no way I would qualify for life insurance now with this pre-existing condition. And, but like right now, if you're healthy, go. Like, this now is the time, get your stuff in order. Like get all your legal documents, Like you don't have life insurance, it's so cheap, and do it while you're young and healthy and you qualify.
And there's different things now that they can have riders put in, because I went and got long-term care almost immediately when my mom was diagnosed 10 years ago, because I don't have any children. Luckily, I have a wonderful boyfriend that hopefully one day will be my husband. But still, I don't want him to be stuck with me, taking care of me and suffering through anything. There was a stat that I heard on that C-SPAN, the whole Ways and Means hearing committee on elder care that got me really fired up in December, that everybody is going to at least 2 years of care. Like if they're healthy at the end of their lifetime, they're going to need a minimum of 2 years, probably, so it's just like, why don't we plan so that our loved ones don't have to worry about all that?
And let's be honest, I mean, healthcare is not going to get any cheaper in the U.S. So it's just really, I mean,
And people that saved, they say the people that saved will run out of money because the costs are going up. They're going up. So if you're not planning and saving, but really we're not even asking that much of people. We're just asking people to have one conversation. Like hopefully somebody will hear this. Thank you, Teresa. Reed. Yes, I'm just going to acknowledge that everybody that's listening, that we just want you guys to have a conversation, with someone, and don't think that it's oh, I have a will, and when I die, everything will go to my loved ones. No, it's about if you live and you don't die. That's what it's about.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
thank you for
100%,
saying
yeah.
that. Thank you for being honest about what you were saying and your life insurance policy.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I think the whole like, oh, I'll do it later, I'll do it later, I'll do it later. I mean, I mean, it's not hard, it's not expensive. I mean, there's a lot of resources. I'm sure you've shared them on your, just do it.
We're getting there. We're getting there. Yeah.
Just shut up and do it. Like, honestly, because I promise you, like, and I mean, Sam and Kimberly know me really well. Like, I mean, I'm literally the last person anyone would have thought that this would have happened to. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I literally am running around the world and just, and I thought, okay, I don't have kids. Like, it's just me. It doesn't matter. But then, like, okay, well, someone's got to,
get stuck with you. You said it. Someone's going to get stuck with like, shenanigans, 100%.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah. And I can't have cocktails with you, so
funny,
that's
like,
fun.
thinking about this years ago, I had to have back surgery, and I was very young, and I was nervous. But I remember my mom was there with me. It was not where I grew up, and she'd come to be the one to be there for a couple of weeks. And I remember like getting there and being prepped, and I thought, oh my God, what if I don't walk when I get up? Like, I'm gonna have to move home, and I'm like, you just start thinking of the most random things. And I'm very young then. I was only 22. But if that were now, I would know, like, these are conversations you have to have.
Yep. No matter what age.
Yeah.
Especially when I mean, it is just one of the biggest conversations that nobody's talking about when it comes to us and aging. And it is definitely something that when you said that you would speak to Sam, I was like, OMG, yes, because people our age don't think about it. And it doesn't matter how old you are. Well, it kind of does.
Well, but it doesn't. I mean,
but you can
accident, slip and fall. I mean,
if you live, it's not about if you die. That's what I wanted to like it's really no matter what age you are. It's not about dying. It's about living.
Yeah.
So
and go ahead.
I was just say, I mean, Kimberly having that conversation with me inspired me, just like it has with Sam and Melissa. You coming on and sharing your story. That's just where, the impact we hope that it just starts to build helps better prepare folks for if you live.
Yeah. We're not going anywhere. We're going to be here talking about it
every week.
And not to pull the Corona card, but, I mean, you kind of hope that something like this, changes people's behavior, right, for the better. And one of those things being that, like, the fact that, like, nobody's immune to this situation. And yes, healthy people, however you want to look at it, like, who's going to be okay if they get it or maybe not. But, like, it just should be a reflection of, like, there's just a lot of uncertainties out there when it comes to our health. And, like, if ever there was a time not to take our health for granted, this should be it. And this should be the window of time that.
And if you're at home with your family, have this conversation. Right? Yes.
And get things, and also legally, like, get things in order legally. Because I mean, it just, I just can't even imagine the nightmare that I would have been in if, like, some of this back stuff hadn't been done.
Yeah, the power of attorney for sure. Yeah. We're having someone on next week, which will an elder care law person that will be explaining all that stuff.
Nice,
but
good.
Absolutely, it's important. Well, I definitely want to thank you, Melissa. I feel like. Guys, I didn't cut you guys off. I was wanting to make sure I didn't mess up on, like, the questions. Is there anything, like, Melissa, that you would say, ending, because we're at the 30-ish mark. Go ahead.
I would just say for caregivers, my advice to the caregivers is just, do what you can and find your support for self-care and like, be human, be honest. Like, I mean, I'd like to think that I was a, fairly easy patient and, was really conscious to try to, show gratitude and, really be appreciative. But, for a lot of people that are in a lot of pain and suffering and, it's a more complicated emotional dynamic for the caregivers, and so, I mean, I think that it's important that caregivers find their support that they need and to try to, because it's just a physical and emotional.
Well, it kills the
drain.
I learned when about a year ago when I was interviewing these authors that caring for your loved one, caring can kill the caregiver. There was a term that they always said, caring can kill the caregiver. And I was like, OMG, that is a for real thing, because everything that people go through when they're caring for their loved one is overwhelming. Like thank you, Mary, for saying you love your family enough to have these conversations. Absolutely. Nicole Block, thank you for joining. She's great information, difficult conversations with everyone. It is, but it's necessary. Like, we shouldn't stop talking about it. Like, it's just, it is a true fact. So,
and everyone needs to have the conversation. It's not about being old. It's not about already having a health issue. I mean, I promise you, I've never had heartburn until this. I've never had any issue. And then my entire aorta just split open from like stem to chin. Like it literally can happen to anybody.
Absolutely.
Well, Melissa, you told us a little bit of your story from multifamily to sort of where you're at now, but tell us what you are doing now, and if how people can connect with you.
Yep. So a lot of the stuff that I was doing over these 10 years was just a lot of like pro bono consulting for charity groups, a lot of like environmental and women and children causes. And then I ended up in East Africa and started advocating for better, more sustainable, responsible tourism practices. So through that, I found a little kind of hole in the market to take my marketing and sales background to help local business companies with their operations and their marketing, and try to attract customers that want to do more ethical safaris and mountain climbing in Africa. So that's what I do now. Obviously, tourism is a bit on hold at the moment right now, but
I'm sorry.
So I'm back to pro bono mode, but that's fine.
We got volunteer work for you if you'd like.
Perfect. Cool.
Awesome.
Got nothing but time, baby. So I'm in South Africa, and I just have this little company called All About Africa Marketing. So basically, I want to, if anyone is looking to travel in Africa and they're looking for ethical, socially and environmentally responsible companies to travel with, then I'm kind of the networker between those links. So
awesome.
That's what I'm doing now. Until
how can they reach you? How can they connect with you?
My
Facebook, LinkedIn,
Facebook, LinkedIn, and
no code names,
All About Africa.
Okay, the Insta handle.
Yeah,
cool.
Yep. So
we'll put all the links. We'll put all the links in the show notes down.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah.
So please, people, I really, honestly, I promise you, like, this can happen to anyone. Please have the conversation with your family, with your loved ones. Please do not put this on, delay. If it's on your to-do list, just get it done. Mm-hmm. This can honestly happen to anybody. I'm very lucky. I had less than a 5% chance of living. So I'm very lucky I'm here. Yeah. But more importantly, I'm so lucky that I can walk, I can speak, I have no permanent damage. Because, the situation could have very easily gone the other way.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we really, really appreciate you helping to continue to energize part of the mission of this foundation, Melissa, and sharing this story. It's incredible that you're here and what history you have. So
yeah.
Well, thank you for having me, and you guys keep up the great work. And this is a very, very important cause to be creating awareness about, because it does affect everybody. And so, I hope people really acknowledge and honor that by making these changes for themselves and their families.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. Well, thank you, Melissa. What kind of recaps and updates do we have for everyone, Sam?
Well, just, for anyone who's maybe hopped into the live in the middle here, we launched the DoAsWeDo Foundation to create resources and a community for caregivers. And as we continue to build out the foundation, we'll provide more educational resources and build out our website and have more information for caregivers. But we're having these conversations because we're hoping, like Melissa said, we're hoping to encourage people through our conversations to start a conversation, to talk about what would your caregiving situation be like? How can you prevent it? And what would you do if you find yourself in it? And that is the meat of why we created the Do As We Do Foundation.
Yes, absolutely.
As everybody's heard, I mean, Kimberly's been a caregiver for a number of years, and she heard a kind of call to action last November with the Ways and Means Committee, and that really, kind of catapulted the mission of the foundation, but more specifically, this recent pandemic that we're all dealing with caregivers losing their job in the economy. So we kicked off the Caregivers Relief Fund, and that's been kind of our main focus, as well as this educational sharing lives that we've been doing, the education piece that we've been doing. But it's really important to us to ensure that these caregivers remain in their homes and we can help them pay their rent, which is why we started this fund. Through our website, DoAsWeDo.org.
I was trying to find that up there.
There it is. I see it. DoAsWeDo.org is where we have our application live for any folks that or help us spread the word about the foundation. But the application process is live thanks to our sponsor SphereX and Approved Shield and many of the other folks that support our organization. We also ask that you donate. We are up a little bit over last week. Collectively, we've raised over $1,300. We have a much more ambitious goal and ask, through this process that you help support all the folks that we want to help support into this initiative. So again, you can donate as DoAsWeDo.org. You can find us on all social media outlets. And please, 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 either donate yourself or share us within your network of folks to really help us cater to those needs. We've also have a Cheers challenge. We've kept it pretty simple, but we thought it'd be a fun way just to kind of recognize a unique way to donate. And so the CARES Cheers challenge is simple in terms of you find your favorite beverage, whether that's a coffee, a cocktail, whatever it might be. You donate to our cause, and then you cheers your friends.
Sorry, Melissa, I just had to bring you back into. It's all water here. So.
And you cheers your friends to challenge them to donate as well. So we've enjoyed doing that with our network of folks, and you don't have to necessarily be challenged to join that. And please just help us spread this word of the great foundation.
Absolutely.
If I could just add one thing, Kimberly,
yes.
When it comes to donating to the Caregivers Fund, I just want to encourage people to think of a lot of people don't need to pay their entire month's rent. They're close to getting it. They're part of the way there. They're getting a little here and a little there from friends, from churches and other organizations. And so just the smallest donation can help someone make it over the top. And that's what we're looking for, so you don't have to, we'd love for you to give a whole month's rent, but we understand, that not everyone can do that. So every little bit helps. You can help, multiple people get over the top with a very small donation.
Absolutely. And I'm playing around with the screens because I'm testing out a software, and I thought maybe it would help your, because Sam is out there in Atlanta, Georgia, or suburbs. I'm sorry, not in Atlanta. Sorry. I always forget with way servers with the cows. So we just want everybody to know that we're not going anywhere. I want to reiterate that this was we voted on it. And they decided this is where the most need was at the time with all the volunteers. So we are going to be here for the long run. So if we are just hoping we could help more people get over that, this is over the hump of rent for right now. And then, the next campaign will be something where we're continually, the website has its next changes coming up along, thanks to SphereX, and the next the application process, thanks to Approved Shield, and really thanks to all the sponsors. I'm a Soap Addict, Vegan Skincare, Salon D, Short Productions, Blue Jay Nutra, AK Realty, Rich B, everyone and everybody that's donated money. We appreciate you, and we will be here. We will be here every Thursday educating caregivers on topics that I wish I'd had that were easy and simple and to the point, or at least for the most part, a place I could come and ask questions and feel comfortable in doing that. That's what we want this place to be. So every Thursday, we did come on a little bit early since Melissa is coming live from South Africa. So we were on a little bit earlier just for her because it is, I believe, 11 or midnight over there, possibly now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but next week we will have on Lori Liu on June 4th, next Friday. She is a lawyer who is the president and of an attorney and a law firm that handles elder law. So definitely a great resource. We're excited to have her and ask her questions. So please tune in. And for everybody who watched us today, thank you so much. Wherever you're watching us from, we're on different platforms so we can meet you where you're at. And if you have a question, even on the replay, please put it in. We want to hear it if there's a topic. And we ask for you to definitely, if you know a caregiver in need, please share this broadcast with them. Send it. Tell them to go to DoAsWeDo.org. Maybe tag some friends that you might want a Cheers challenge, or they might want to donate. But we'll be here every Thursday, and did we cover all of it, guys? Did we miss anything?
Yeah,
Thank you again.
Thanks for all our viewers joining today.
Yes.
Yeah, and big thanks again to Melissa for joining us, and especially with the time difference, we really appreciate it.
Yes, there she is again. I'm gonna go bring her up. Yay! And we'll see you guys next week. Thank you guys so much. Have a great one.
Thank you guys.
Bye.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Everyone. Cheers.